Even hope may seem but futile when with troubles you're beset. But remember you are facing just what other men have met. You may fail but fall still fighting. Don't give up whatever you do. Eyes front, head high to the finish. See it through. Good morning. Good morning. That was the last stanza of my favorite poem of See It Through. And every day that I wake up, it's my mission, no matter what the obstacles are, to see it through. To this distinguished panel, to the President, to Dr. Casino, and to the Mayor, and to all of you elected officials, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak at this august occasion. Now, I have to be honest with you, when I got the call that I was going to be the speaker at the Bridge Builders Breakfast, I thought it was a prank call. Because I knew Congressman Sewell was going to be the speaker. And so I really just thought someone was joking. But then when I figured out that she was still in Washington, I figured I better get on up and come over this morning so that I could do the task that I've been given. But it is certainly a privilege for me to stand as an alumni of Alabama State University, as a former SGA president, because all that I have and accomplished is because of my ASU. See, because when you talk about building bridges, ASU is the essence of building bridges. 146 years ago, ASU had to begin to build bridges in order to get us to this great day. And along that way, it wasn't an easy task, because we had those who said that it shouldn't be done. We had those that said that it should not happen. We had those who needed the help but refused the help. But it was because of a few good men. And it was because of a few good missionaries that got together and decided that we are going to make the difference in the lives of African Americans in this country. We are going to start Alabama State University. And that was in Marion, Alabama. Now, if you haven't dove over into the history, I would admonish you to do it. Look at the history and look at the struggle that it took for this university to climb and begin to soar. So when we talk about struggle, when we talk about turmoil, this university has outlived any trouble, any turmoil that can be given, and it will continue to live. Now, her transformation into a world-class university did not transpire without building bridges. And we talk about building those bridges over political waters, over racial waters. The bridges had to be built in order for this university to grow and to thrive. But there were people that were willing to meet the challenge to make that possible. So when I talk to my students, I want them to not necessarily pay attention to all that may seem wrong, but pay attention to all that's right, because anything that's right will outlive the 5-second soundbite of what's considered wrong. See, now I stand as a benefactor of what we will consider a very dangerous political culture. So I've seen up close and personal what political agendas and political divisiveness can get you. But the one thing that I can tell you through my experience, when you've done all that you can do, when you've said all that you can say, all you can do is stand, and that's what ASU has to do. Now, nothing about our struggles nor our past can destroy where we've come. And as I said, a 5-minute soundbite nor a 36-page preliminary report. See, because the contributions of the university are bigger than that. What has happened, the lives that this university has changed are bigger than that. And so for those who think that within a 36-page report that I've read, by the way, that I feel was quite opinionated, matter of fact, a judge and a jury. But as far as I know and through my experience, any person is presumed innocent until proven otherwise in this country. And so we cannot fall victim to those things that are being portrayed in the media because we have a mission to continue. We have to continue to build bridges. Our bridges are being built. Our bridges are standing because of you that are in this room. None of you didn't shy away because of what you saw on television to come here this morning. You got up eager to come because you, just like I do, love my ASU. See, because when you talk about trouble, when you talk about the struggles, it can't erase the actual facts. It can't erase the facts of Alabama State having over 50 undergraduate degree programs. It can't take that away. It can't take it away. It can't take away that our history and education and our teaching, we have one of the best teacher programs in this country. It can't take it away. See, and really when you talk about media, you talk about sound bites, and I love them because sometimes they're good to me. Sometimes. But when you talk about sound bites, you don't ever get the totality of the circumstances. And what happens as humans, we're so quick to pass judgment because it's so easy to do. But if we cling to our teaching, we know that judging is not what we should do. So this morning, I just came by to just tell you that when we talk about the media sound bites, I want them to give a little bit more attention to the fact that the Hornets soccer team and the women's soccer team captured the SWAC Eastern title. Focus in on that. When it talks about sound bites, let's give a little bit more play. Let's play a little. And if you talk to the young children, they just say, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let's focus on the fact that we have announced the Nuclear Protection Academy. Let's focus on that. Let's run a long story on that. Let's run a story on how that happens. Because that's what matters. Because at the end of the day, regardless what struggles take place, the university still has to live. It still has to strive. Those are the things that we need to focus on. We need to focus on the fact that we have one of the best theater arts departments in this country. You have to focus on that. If you didn't get a chance to go see the Color Purple, shame on you. Because they can go to any theater in this country and you would be proud. But we need to focus on that because when I went into the room, when I went into the theater, I didn't see the media there. So we have to be careful about how we get caught up into just the moment and reserve the right to pass judgment after you get the full story. But even with that, even if you dislike individuals, even if you dislike what's being said, that has nothing to do with your love for the university. So you shouldn't badmouth the university. Listen, I was a student at ASU. Sometimes I didn't like the food, but I love my ASU. See, sometimes I had to stand in line at Alabama State University in long lines waiting to register, but I love my ASU. And so what happens at Alabama State is not foreign to what happens at universities all over this state and all over this country. But the one thing that they do, and we have to take a page out of their books, is that they love their university. And so that's what we have to be mindful of. And see, as we look at what is unfolding, it just begs me to question, because all I'm asking is just simple fairness, simple respect. See, because for a governor that I spoke to, that my colleague Senator Singleton spoke to, Senator Sanders and others spoke to, and for him to tell us that, listen, we just want what's best for the university. We want to just do what's best. We're doing this audit and we're going to present it to the university and they'll have a chance to respond, but then all of a sudden the press has a copy of a confidential report, is that really about the university, or is it about politics? You answer the question. I won't try to tell you the answer. But the other thing I talk about is fundamental fairness, because this is unprecedented. What has happened at ASU? There has never been in the history of forensic audit that has been paid for over $500 million to go into the university and stay as long as it had, and then it produces you a 36-page preliminary report. You have to look at it for what it is. And while I embrace the imperfections, don't condone the imperfections, I do ask my governor to treat me like any other institution. See, because you don't remember when Auburn University, they were going to lose the SACS accreditation. Do we remember that? Do we remember that? But you know what? I went back and read the article, and the governor then, Governor Bob Riley, he stepped back and he said the university will read their report, and the board will make their decision on how they will move forward. There was never a threat of a takeover. There was never a threat of changing board members because of the mere respect for individuals who have been duly appointed to do a job. Like it or not, they were duly appointed to do a job. So all I'm asking for is the same treatment. See, because even in that report, when you talked about the SACS report, they thought board members were too powerful. But they even talked about the board members that did big business with the university. But nobody said we're going to go in and we're going to take over the university. We're going to take it. They let the duly elected board handle their business. Just up the road in Tuscaloosa, anytime you get something about an allegation from the NCAA, you hear about it, they say they're going to look into it, and the university board of trustees, they didn't handle it. You don't hear anything else about it. You don't hear anybody. Nobody was running up the road when they talked about the sororities that were. Nobody said that we're going to take it or we think it's bad judgment of a board member. Nobody said that. So all I'm asking for is just a little respect. Respect my issue, respect my institution, respect the duly elected individuals that have been appointed to the board. Not condoning anything, but at least embracing what our issues are and correcting what our problems are. Because anytime that you go through struggle, anytime that you have problems, you come out the better for it. We're a family. And so I just raised those issues about my other universities because while I talked about building bridges, while I talked about what it took for ASU to get where it is today, but I also have to hearken to this Alabama Code of 1975, Title 16, which deals with education. And I asked any of you to go through and just kind of study it because it was astonishing to me to find that there were only 2 universities that had clauses that dealt with conflict of interest. And that was Alabama State and Alabama A&M. So to hire a president and then the president hired their brother, University of Alabama, it's okay. But at ASU, it may be some problems. Now, I mean, it's in the code, and you say, well, why did you change it? But I think I may have been lying when they did this. But it's something that shows that even through our struggle to build bridges, the concessions that were made for us to get something really left us in this code as a second-class institution, because I look through it and I'm reading it and studying it, and some of the things that apply to some universities for instance, any other university can have a person serve on their board from anywhere in the nation. But Alabama State has to have people that live right here in Alabama. Any other university can have a legislator serve on their board of trustees, but Alabama State cannot. But now what people may differ and think that that's, you may agree and not agree, but my point is the fundamental fairness. Because if one forensic audit is good for a university, then it's good for all universities. So now, I had a Dr. C.C. Baker, who was one of my good friends, when he gave a speech, talked about being, when you really feel strong about something, you can get emotional. But if you really feel strong about it, you get commotional. So I apologize for me being commotional, but listen, I love my university. See, because when I was just a child, my parents were in school, my mother and my father, and they went to Alabama State University, and they implanted in me that Alabama State University is just not an institution. It's just not a place, but it's a way of life. And so when it seems as though it's threatened, for reasons unknown, because everything is not what it seems, I have a problem with that. And I get commotional. And so we have to focus, our administration has to focus on continuing to provide the outstanding education for our children. Don't be distracted by what you hear in the news, because a job still has to be done. Nothing can stop. ASU still has to go on. There is no one person bigger than the institution. Not one. So if you had 1, 2, or 3, there is not one person that's bigger than the institution. So the institution has to go on. I went in to see the governor and I said, Governor, let my people go. Let ASU go. Let ASU go. Because it's being held hostage with this type of thinking. And with all due respect, I just differ in the approach. Because anything that is not right will be fared out in a court of law. But if you say that you're just going to do a study and you pass it on to the proper authorities, then so be it. Then get out of it. All I look for is fundamental fairness. Now, I have to tell you, even looking at this 1975 code, I thank God every day for the 1995 Night v. Alabama. Every day. Because again, as I told you, look at this code. The code set up a subpar situation. It set up a situation where you wouldn't be able to get ahead. But the courts knew better. And because of that, my ASU is a world-class university with doctoral programs, more graduate programs. And all it is fundamental fairness, just like any other institution. Now, I admire the University of Alabama. I admire our university, because no matter what happens, no matter how bad it may look, they are family and they stand by their institution. And today, I'm telling you, particularly ASU, you have to stand by your university. That's what you have to do. Now, as I move along, I want us to be mindful that we understand that things are going to happen. Understand that things that we like and dislike are going to take place. We understand that's going to happen. But that doesn't give us the right to pile on to a situation that's already ruined, because you really don't understand. See, those individuals who are all talking against the university, they think that they have a friend in someone else. But let me tell you, you ought to be ashamed, because the person doesn't care about you nor the university. And so it's only us. It's the people in this room, it's the community at large that this institution has impacted. We have to stand up for ASU. We have to stand up, so we can't go out bad-mouthing ASU. We have to remember that when your belief is strong, as Dr. King said, and your purpose is just, no obstacle can stand in your way. Now that's the caption capture the essence of commitment. And as bad as it gets, I'm committed to ASU. What about you? As bad as it gets, I'm committed to Alabama State University. And that's what we need. We need commitment. We need you to stand on behalf of this university. And simply I ask the government for fundamental fairness. The way you deal with the way that you hand out justice. But again, this institution is known for standing and fighting for justice. And it hadn't stopped. We must continue on. You know, the other thing you have to remember is that in 1975, that's when I think we finally got a board. We finally got an independent board from the Department of Education. That's been 38 years. So then you have to question, somebody said, oh man, 38 years now. And I'm looking at this code. Alabama State shouldn't have a stadium. Alabama State shouldn't have a doctoral program. It's just been 38 years. That's not what it was meant to do. But by God's grace, we have defied all odds. And we are ASU, and we're a world-class university. Right here in Montgomery, Alabama. And those of you that know, thy sons and daughters love thy fathers. The Lord of truth. And every heart beats true to thee, in whom there is no harm. O alma mater, fair and dear, we proudly hail thy name, which far and near is known and loved, and crowned with growing fame. I've got so many calls from the media. And listen, I love the media. They've been good to me. But I have not responded because I wanted you to get my message first. So now, when they call and ask me about ASU, I will say, we proudly hail thy name. When they call me and ask me, what do you think about the problems that are going on over there? We proudly hail thy name. When they ask me, what do you think about the ship? We proudly hail thy name because the university is bigger for one individual. And we proudly hail thy name. But it looks so bad. We proudly hail thy name. I hope all of you will join me and touch your neighbors and tell your friends that when you're asked a question about Alabama State University, you just simply say, we proudly hail thy name. Thank you and God bless you and God bless Alabama State University.